What if you woke up tomorrow and all the things that we kicked the can down the road, per se, as a nation, started coming to fruition? The things like our market struggling, because it is, and we'll talk about that. Also the fact of Social Security. If you did not get your Social Security, would you be in a bind? Most Americans would be. We're going to talk about how much of a deficit it is and how much liabilities it is and how dangerous that could be. It's only as strong as our dollar that we keep printing. Well, if all of a sudden the market falters, all of a sudden our dollar struggles, Social Security will need to be restructured. Not only that, we're going to talk about food insecurity. We don't think of that in America, but that is exactly what's happening across the world and in America, and it happened under the Biden-Harris administration. Let's dive deeper in these three stories today, and we'll talk about a little bit more. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. You can tell that I'm still under the weather a little bit. It's a little chilly here in South Mississippi, which I'm glad of. Got a cup of coffee. If you're not drinking Hollow Point coffee, you need to drink Hollow Point coffee. It's phenomenal. So check them out. There's a link below. Now, let's dive into the stories of today. Social Security. It is facing a $63 trillion, that's with the T, trillion dollar unfunded liability. Social Security is facing $63 trillion of unfunded liability as a 2024 Old Age Survivors Disability Insurance Trustee report. It says the report looked for two things: how much money will be missing indefinitely and how much money is missing in the next 75 years. The report determined that there is a permanent $62 trillion that has been taken from Social Security. So that Ponzi scheme, you know, that thing that you have to pay, it's amazing how the government put their hand in your retirement and ultimately made you invest in Social Security, did a terrible investment on it, also took the money and stole it from us, and we send people to prison for that, but the government can do it legally. So $62.8 trillion of indefinite money taken from Social Security from our wonderful government. And then a $23 trillion shortage, and it looks like it'd be basically year over year. Officials explain that these numbers show how much less money they will have after the money is saved up and the trust fund runs out. The annual shortfalls after trust fund reserve depletion rises slowly and reflects increases in life expectancy. So we're getting older. People are more dependent on Social Security, and we are drying it up because we don't have the money and the funds, because we're at a deficit each and every year with our spending. This shows how bad our situation with Social Security is. That's why it's always a fight every 4 years on what you think about Social Security. Now again, my plan would be keep all the people that are, you know, say 35 and older or 40 and older on Social Security. You revamp it and you fully fund it, meaning you take losses in places in our government that we don't need to spend money. And then everybody under 40 would have an opt-out clause to where they can start doing their own retirement investing. Now, do I believe it should be required? No, I'm not saying it should be required, but what I'm saying is you can't depend on the government to always take care of you. So if we say, I'm going to opt out of that, then give us the options and give us the makeshift time to say, okay, we're going to put our money somewhere else. You're not going to tax it. You're going to leave it alone just like you do Social Security. But we're going to control it, because to be honest with you, with us controlling it or private entities controlling it, I promise you it will make more money and no one will be stealing like the government has stole from your pensions and your Social Security. The people from this study made this quote, and I thought it was good. It says, there's nothing in economics that says you should just look at 75 years and assume everybody's going to be dead after that day. That's exactly what Social Security did. That's why they've moved it up to 65 to 70 to 75 in different age brackets, because they don't have the money to make sure that you are paying into a system to ultimately it'll be there when you retire. It's like operating on half of a cancer, removing half of the cancer and telling your patients to come back in 10 years. And when they do, as twice as big, you then start operating on the other half. And basically what he's saying is a broken system, and it's not going to get better. Kicking the can down the road has got us kicked to a corner. And now, with our financial instability here in America, we're not going to be able to fund it for much longer. And if we do, we're going to have to take something away from other people, or we're going to have to look at a UBI situation. We're making our government so big because they've blown our money, so now they have to print more money to have their obligations fulfilled. This is sad, sad, sad. Now, you've heard people say, well, we need to up, the taxes on the rich. Do you realize if we upped all the taxes on the richest billionaires in the world, on all billionaires in the world, it would not get us through about a few months. I think it was like 6 months worth of Social Security in its deficits, because there's not enough money. 63 trillion just that has been taken. That's more than our deficit spending. You know what's even crazier? And here's what's going to blow your mind. Because the way we're spending, our deficit spending, meaning our interest on our debt, will actually surpass the money that we're putting in Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid within the next year or two. So now, not only are you deficit spending, not only can you not fund the things that's supposed to be help funded and retirements for people, or at least a emergency fund like Social Security, now you have so much debt that now you don't have enough money to even go back and put the money back in there. So you've taken money and robbed it. It's a Ponzi scheme. You talk about FTX or Ponzi, or you talk about all these other big multi-billionaires that took money from people. Yes, it's terrible, but our government's doing the same thing. Listen to this. I thought this was a good word too. We're talking about all this bad news, but listen to this. It says the problem, according to Mark Wachowski, a senior fellow with the American Enterprise Institute, it says that these outlooks are still based on rosy scenarios, meaning that we can just keep on kicking the can down the road and we'll finally get on top of it because we can just keep printing money. Meaning that the United States will not grapple with a major financial crisis, a major military conflict, or another pandemic. He says if any of these things take place, and look, there's not one economist, not one on the Democrat or Republican side that says we will not face a financial crisis within the 4 or 5 years left. So they said whoever the next president is could possibly face, with about an 80% certainty, a financial crisis that could be very detrimental. So all this stuff, the loss in Social Security, is actually based on a market that is still climbing, on a fake market that we keep putting more money in, the government, and the spending and printing of money to where we don't get any new wars, no pandemics, and the market doesn't crash. So if one of those three things happen, which we're close to a military conflict, we are very close to a market crash, they said within the next 4 years, if not before, and we're going to talk a little bit about the market uncertainty, and then also with the fact of just a financial chaos or crisis with taxing, with the people. Can you imagine any of those things happening? Yes, we can. So if we woke up and one of those things happened, and you were depending on your Social Security, and all of a sudden they said, well, we just don't have the funds. You think it wouldn't happen, but we're that close because we don't have the money. If so, then what you're going to see is overtaxation of the rest of the population, which will cause for more financial chaos and probably even a depression. Secondly, let's jump into the food insecurity. It says food insecurity surged under Biden-Harris. During the pandemic of 2020, food insecurity had already ticked up in the United States. It says now the inflation crisis under this administration with Harris has intensified to a point where families with children are suffering without being able to provide for their kids. USDA just published the latest report on this issue. It says that almost 18% of households with children are food insecure, up to 17.3% in 2022 and 12.5% in 2021. So it was up every year since 2020, since Trump left, but it went up to 12.5, then to 17.3, now to 18% of households struggle. Now here's the problem. That's not a government issue to say, okay, now we want to give them more tax dollars to fix the problem. No, we need to build a better economy so people can take care of themselves. This is not a time where we're saying, okay, well, we need UBI or we need more food stamp programs. Yes, people should have that to fall back on if it is a need. Sadly, a lot of people are not using those things in need, and that's why the systems are broken. Government just wants to hand out money, and that is not the answer. The answer is the fact that we have to quit breaking the food system. So first of all, you got to build the economy back up to where people have jobs and that they can afford their families. Secondly, if government quit spending, the inflation would go down and the interest would start tapping down too. To be honest with you, I hope the interest stays up a little higher when they stop spending, because that will help balance out our system to get us back on a safe trajectory. Now, food insecurity. The answer to food insecurity is people want to buy boxed foods, or they want to buy stuff that is bad for us, or they want to eat GMO crops or GMO goods or stuff that's been sprayed. So our health is not getting better just because we have more food. So when we talk about food insecurity, you need to make sure you are securing quality food. If you can't prep and grow your own food like I'm sitting beside all our blueberry orchard. If you can't do that, and you can't have a smokehouse back here right there, and you can't grow your own food, that's okay. But you better be buying higher quality food. I talked to someone yesterday, and even in Whole Foods, I shop at Whole Foods. I know that it's a liberal company, but if I have to buy something, that's about the only place I like to go, that and Costco, because they offer some things that do not have chemicals, and they're organic, and they tend to have better product. Sadly, even in those places, less than 10% of the store has no seed oils or no GMO fixtures in it. So they may be organic, or they may be good processes. They may have better quality, but they're still made up of seed oils that are not good for us. We need to go back to a full-fat diet, understand what butter and what true oil, which is lard, or true fat is, and understanding that we can clean our diets up with good quality food. Eating from the ground and eating organically from the ground is a game changer. So not only do we need to fix our food insecurity, it would fix our health automatically. The government does not need to be feeding us cereals and Cheerios and Doritos all the time. We need to eat balanced diets. We need to eat chicken. We need to make sure that that chicken's raised right. We need to eat spinach because that spinach was raised right. We need to eat other things from our lands that are good quality. I said yesterday with RFK, we are producing enough non-GMO grains for us to eat. However, we sell those to countries that actually believe in good, healthy diets. And then we start importing GMO crops to feed our people so they could be locked on medication forever. Sad. We need to fix this, or this number's going to keep on going up. And then the solution for the government is, let's hand out EBT cards or hand out crap food, or keep giving them Gatorades and Cokes instead of giving them good quality meals. Now, thirdly, to wrap it all up, and this goes back to the point of the first point of Social Security. We're in a financial chaotic time, some market insecurity. You have banks that are now trying to support Kamala, and you have all these big billionaires who are still trying to stand behind Kamala just because they know the money printers will keep on going and it will make the market stable. Here's the thing, I want you to pay attention, and this is going a little deeper in the market. Right now we're seeing basically a reverse melt up or a reverse market crash. We're seeing bad things because where the market is manipulated by just a few big players. If 6 or 7 companies faltered, the whole market would falter. That's not how it should be. It should be spread out against thousands of companies to make sure that the market never goes down. But it's not. And what happens is when we get all this money, especially government money, that government money goes to certain players, those certain monster banks, and those certain monster holders like BlackRock and Goldman Sachs. And when we allow them to be the players, then that money is actually looking fake. It's looking good. The market's looking strong. But ultimately, you're dependent on the government spending in 6 or 7 monster firms to do good. If something happens with one of those firms, everything tanks on the market. That's not normal. What is happening and what is the market is proving is you're seeing the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Now this has been happening for years. I mean, even down to the back in the riots back in, the Wall Street riots back years ago. But the bottom line has gotten significantly worse because we've printed more money. Since COVID, we've given more stimulus, which makes it basically melts up. It basically goes where it's like you have the money, and then ultimately it trickles right to the top, and now you're building richer billionaires, and you're making the impoverished class lower. You are ending the middle class, and that's exactly what we're seeing worldwide. We're seeing a upper class, and we're going to see a serf class. That's what's happening. If we see a market crash and then it affects Social Security, or makes it revamp or reset our money, our Social Security, be wary. Hard times are coming. Now, this video is not meant to scare you. It's Sunday. I hope you're in church, and I hope that you are having a good head on your shoulders. The point of the video, though, is shows that you cannot depend on Social Security, especially for your own. Come on, guys. Don't depend on Social Security. Quit spending all the money that you make. Start trying to save some. Secondly, start building a food plan, a prepper's pantry. My wife did a video on it yesterday on our other channel. We need to understand the value of prepping with food and putting food up, because if food insecurity happens, no money, people are going to be lined up for the government to give them what they need. And whatever they want to give them, if they want to give them a biometric digital ID, or they want to give them something in the arm, people would be willing to do it because they want to feed and make sure their kids have something to eat. We don't need that, and we can stop it if we stop this craziness. And when government stops spending, all this would pretty much fix itself. The economy would get better, food insecurity would get better, and also the market would actually correct and get back to balancing to a point where businesses make the decisions, not the government and big players. This is key. Pay attention to these three things because this affects you, every American. Without Social Security, most of our older individuals would suffer. I mean, they're already suffering because Social Security doesn't pay them enough, but they would suffer even more. They would be impoverished and more on the streets. Secondly, no food means for either badder diets, meaning more manufactured foods, or the fact that government's going to give more money out that they don't have. Thirdly, the more money that the government spends, the more bureaucracy that happens, the more the market goes up, the richer get richer, the poor get poorer, and ultimately that cannot stay kicked down the road. It's going to come to fruition very soon. Guys, let me know your thoughts on this video. It's not meant to scare you. It's meant to say, hey, it's time to prepare for these things. Because the truth is, I'd rather be over-prepared and have the insurance and know it's okay than be under-prepared and be standing at the government knees saying, please, feed me. Guys, let me know your thoughts.